All righty, friends, we're back. Your favorite podcast of the week. It's Location Weekly. It's episode number 586, and we are recording on September the 13th. Brianna, how's it going?
It's going good, getting into the swing of things with fall around the corner. It still doesn't feel quite like fall. It's still pretty warm, but the first full week of school this week. So it's like getting back into that groove, putting the kids on the bus and getting to work, not being bugged for snacks all day long. So I feel like I have a renewed focus, which is really nice. So yeah. How's it going for you? You're somewhere new.
I am somewhere new. I'm in San Francisco this week with my startup, ground level, and we're in front of a bunch of Silicon Valley VCs and all of that. So busy week. It's still warm in Toronto, but I got here and I'm like, it's cold. San Francisco's cold. It's like windy and cold, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready for that yet. But anyways, yeah, it's all good. Things are going well, and we're getting closer now. Just a month and a bit now to our LB May Retail Local Conference in Atlanta. We were just talking about that. And so I'm getting excited about that. More and more speakers locking in the last week, yeah, I think we're gonna have some good brands there: Kroger, IKEA, Coke. Some good sponsors in Radar and Glimpse, and our good friends Mark and company at DevHub and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be fun times all around. So I'm excited about it. So if you don't have your ticket for Retail Loco, go get it. October 26th and 27th in Atlanta, retaillow.co. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so we got a good show for you. As usual, we have 4 stories that we want to highlight in the world of location and tech and data, and I'll let Abriana kick us off.
All right. Well, I have to say this is a topic I wish I never really had to discuss or anybody had to discuss, but here we are. And noting that, it's really important to have time efficient solutions to protect students and teachers, protecting schools during emergencies where lives could be at stake. So noting this, REVLAB Technology has rolled out what they're calling Campus Safe. So in essence, this is a panic button for classrooms. Its goal is to increase safety, avoid tragedy. They've noted recent school shootings and other emergencies. And really the technology was based on an original design that they were using for hotel safety, but now they've applied this to schools to optimize that campus safety. So how it works is that there's a panic button that's in an application. So you press the panic button, the software lets other users know that there's an incident going on, and on-scene assistance arrives. They're given that user's location, that very specific and granular location. And then, I think that it's really just about like sharing that with the emergency services as fast as possible. So obviously, I think this is a helpful measure. From my perspective, there's a lot of additional measures that should be taken to protect our children and school administrators and staff way before it comes to this when we're thinking about like school shootings. However, I do think that there's some other really unique applications in schools that this would be more directed to that were not maybe referenced in the article. So I was thinking about anaphylactic allergic reactions and any health crisis where you need to get paramedics and the right healthcare as urgent as possible to a specific location, and not having a lot of times you have a lot of classrooms and multiple levels. So getting to the exact place as fast as possible is really crucial. So I think there's a lot of good use cases for this. And, it's just unfortunate that we're building technology to solve a problem like this. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things that can be done to help keep our children safe, our schools safer, just in general, whether that's hotels. But yeah, I like this. I like just having something that is seamless and being able to perhaps train the entire staff on something that's really easy and not complicated in terms of how to keep it more safe. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's sad that we need this kind of application or technology, but the reality is that's the world that we live in, and there are bad things happening out there in schools and on campuses and in hotels and elsewhere. So, I like this. As a father with a 19-year-old daughter that's away at university, and on campus all the time. I'm all for things that can keep her safe when I'm not there to do that. So yeah, I like this. I think from a tech point of view, we're not talking about rocket science here. Certainly, I think it was like a few months ago we talked about, the U.S. operators enhancing the E911 functionality to make it more accurate, more specific to, the individual, location. Um, but in the absence of that, I think if you can find ways to, build this into apps that people are using on campuses or in hotels, and make it easy and accessible for them, then I think it makes sense, right? And it is about not only reporting an incident, but having very very accurate location data, right? And I think there are many ways to do that. We've talked about hardware integrations into Wi-Fi networks and other things, and especially when you're in tall buildings, and office towers or university buildings, and trying to narrow it down to what room somebody's in, or where specifically in a building or on a campus they might be. The faster, obviously, emergency services can get there, the more likely it is that there's going to be a positive outcome. So, yeah, so I like this, and yeah, I don't have much more to say about it, but I think it's certainly useful and helpful. And check it out from RevLab. All right, on to our second story now. So we're going to shift over to the world of augmented reality, and the Minnesota Twins. That is the baseball team in Minnesota at Target Field. Um, have teamed up and are experimenting with a technology from a company called A Round, which is AR in caps and then OUND, all one word. And they are basically creating what they're calling shared digital experiences in real time, all sort of visualized in AR. And I think, obviously we've talked a lot on this show about, the growth of AR and VR, and, you know, um, you know, packaged goods companies applying AR to what they're doing, and scan the package and see an experience, or, get a recipe or whatever, all those kinds of things that we've talked about. What I think is a little bit different about this and kind of unique is they're talking about creating a shared experience here where multiple people in the stadium, in this case, are interacting with the same content or with each other. And I think that's a little bit different. One stat that they pulled out, they said that you need to have things like this happening in a baseball game, because typically at an average baseball game, fans are only engaged for 18 minutes of action per 3 hour game. That's mind-boggling to me. Aubriana, you and I both come from baseball world. Your dad played, and I played, and your husband played, and whatnot. And for I think for us, we're that our players, or super fans, or whatever you want to call us, we're engaged, because we know the stats, and we know what the nuances of what's going on, behind the scenes, and all this, all the preparation and the video room that those players are in. So, we're perhaps, I'm going to say we're spending more than 18 minutes engaged with the game. But I could see for the casual fan, it can be slow. It can be, not the fastest moving sport out there. So essentially, they're trying to say, how do we up that from 18 minutes to, something much greater than that? And so they've created this, what they call a stadium overlay with audio, visual effects, that celebrate things like big hits, strikeouts. Fans can express their appreciation for what's going on by hurling virtual squids and virtual hot dogs onto the field. There's gamification built into this, with into the lineup with like a digital home run derby thing going on, contests and things going on between you and other fans in the stands. all sort of visualized, through an AR lens. So you know what, I think this is kind of interesting. I can absolutely see how this plays out in a sporting venue like this, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. But I do think that sports teams are looking for other ways to keep fans engaged, and baseball might be the right place to start. I don't know. What are your thoughts, baseball girl?
Well, I think, to be frank, like, the game of baseball is in trouble. And I think that teams, and MLB, and I do think this spans beyond Major League Baseball to other professional sports, but specifically with baseball, getting the attention of the consumer and that engagement and those repeat, fans that come and visit the stadium is very much a problem right now. I think it was a problem pre-pandemic, and it has just continued. So much so that we just saw that they announced new rule changes for next season. The larger bases, banning the shift, the pitch clock, like all of those things to help speed up the game, because people are bored, people are not paying attention, they're losing interest. So this is another one of those attempts, I think, to, our kids are not necessarily focused on what's happening in front of them. They are very much into what they can do on a screen that's in front of them. And I think that there's some benefit to this, and bringing in, other realities into the stadium. But, I would say, like, for us, like, as true fans, we're like, really, is that what it's going to take? Because we're just genuinely interested in the game, and we have a love and appreciation for it. But that's not every day. And I think that they have to continue to iterate and make changes. They have to continue to make it an entertainment place, not just a place for people who love baseball. You think about what the Savannah Bananas are doing, the minor league team out of Savannah, Georgia. Like, it is an entertainment. It is baseball, but they are entertaining and they're having a fun time with it. So, I think that's the wave of the future. We've also seen a lot of teams like fan-controlled football entering the league and kind of switching up the rules and condensing the field of play and making smaller teams. So, I think there's going to be more and more gamification. There's going to be more digital interaction in the future, and they're going to just try to include the fans increasingly. And I think it's what needs to happen, for this to stay relevant. But it is definitely a shift from the baseball that we grew up on.
Yeah, and just looking at my two kids, my daughter, every time we ever went to a baseball game together, she's engaged. She loves the sport. She's got her scorebook there. She's scoring the plays and, like, all that's happening on the field. So she's following everything. So just from a stats point of view. And my son's complete opposite. Like, he's there, he's on his phone, he's he would be all over this, right? Hurling hot dogs on the field. I mean, it's so yeah. I think there's an age piece, there's an engagement piece, and I think it could be quite interesting. So, all right.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to have something for everybody, right? Giving different personalities, different levels of fandom, if you will, ways to engage with the sport and the venue. So it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch over to QSR, and Panera Bread is testing CarPlay now in the drive-thru. So they are, have these efforts that are trying to expand their digital ordering offering and their drive-thru opportunities. More and more now we're seeing Panera Breads with drive-thrus. It didn't used to be that way. And now they've kicked off this partnership with Apple's CarPlay. So iPhone users, if you're a member of Panera's My Panera loyalty program, you can order through the app, and they have something called Unlimited Sip Club. So there's like a subscription, and you can redeem those beverages through the car's dashboard and CarPlay. And, it's worth noting that there's 2,100 or more than 2,100 bakery cafes in the US and Canada. So there's like massive reach that they have here. And I think they're just trying to increase those drive-thrus. We've seen, obviously, like, statistically, that QSR drive-thru orders have, seen a large increase since early 2020, clearly tied to a lot of the indoor dining being closed. those experiences being closed, but also likely due to a shift in consumer behavior. We just kind of got used to going through the drive-through and it's convenient and we don't want to get out. So, another stat though that is worth noting here is that a less favorable thing is a lot of restaurant staffing as a whole has seen, tremendous challenges in retaining their talent and just retaining their employees, and it's extremely difficult, whether that's fine dining or QSR. So, I think this is also has them testing out things like AI drive-through tech. They're testing out something called Tori. It's an automated drive-through voice assistant from Open City tech company. But I think what's it also just like calling this out, we are seeing a trend here, right? There's less and less help. So how do we automate things? How do we take away, jobs that humans have traditionally done? About 10 weeks ago, we talked about McDonald's testing out IBM, with the AI technology and license plate personalization testing that they're doing. There was a large $10 million investment in a restaurant voice ordering automation company called Converse Now, it's Union Square Hospitality Group founder that started Shake Shack. So like people are investing in this. They say, obviously there's a challenge, I think that there's a lot of opportunities to meet these needs. I always go to Chick-fil-A as a particularly wonderful experience most of the time for fast food. It's probably to the benefit of my health and my waistline that we don't have a Chick-fil-A very close, but that was one of my favorite things. Like as a mom, busy weekends, running errands, I can order on my mobile app, just drive through and pick it up and it's ready. It was like very, very convenient to be able to find the nearest location, place that order, just repeat the same order that we always get and go through and pick it up and be on with our day. So I think that there's something to that experience, to that consumer behavior. And it's good to see that Panera is getting in on it. I think that, a lot of restaurants are going to be headed in this direction with new technology that can, again, take the place of humans. We've got to cover it. They have to keep moving and keep being productive. And that's typically what kind of, I would say like jams the flow of everything, right, within the restaurant. So, I think this is good. It's great that they're testing this out. I think we're going to see more and more like this, being able to do that not only through CarPlay, but obviously just through the app in general, I think is going to be a big benefit to their bottom line.
Yeah, and I think, just to add a little bit to that, I think obviously if you can tie into the car, system, whether that's CarPlay or whichever system, and just facilitate that easier transaction, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think for brands like Panera or McDonald's or anybody who has, a drive-through going on, it just makes that experience a little more seamless and easy. And when there is a rewards program, I think this becomes critical. So, I'm, as you can see here, I'm drinking my McDonald's coffee, which I walked over and picked up, near my hotel this morning. And I like McDonald's coffee. That's what I drink. And most at home in Toronto, I go through the drive-through. I pick it up on my way to the office. And the interesting thing is I have the McDonald's app on my phone, and there's rewards. And every time you buy a coffee or you buy anything, you're earning points. Now, if I want to, collect those points or redeem those points, I have to open the app. There's a like a personalized QR code in there. I gotta show them the QR code at the window when I'm paying, and they can scan that, and then that logs my points. But it would be so much easier if I went through with my CarPlay, and it all automatically sent them my code, and it synced up, and I didn't have to have that extra step of showing my code, showing my phone, or anything like that, to do that. So I think it is about just simplifying that process and that flow through. And then the other thing I think is interesting here, and we haven't talked about for a while, but platforms like CarPlay and Maven and all these other things that are out there right now, and even Google Waze and so on, the more you can tie into this type of a system and these types of loyalty programs, the easier it becomes for you to drive, sort of additional traffic. So if you're on a road trip and you're driving, let's say you're driving, from where you are, Brianna, to, your Thanksgiving dinner coming up, at your parents' place, and North Carolina, or wherever they are. Wouldn't it be interesting if, along the route, along the way, you're getting like, push recommendations through CarPlay to say, hey, why don't you, pull into the local Chick-fil-A or whatever. Here's an offer. You can earn so many points because it knows your location, it knows where you are, it knows, your status and all of that. And then kind of close that loop as you come through the drive-through. So I think there's a lot to be done here in terms of how you leverage the data and the geo location information to make it more seamless and effective.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like
All right. Yeah.
some of those, taking some of those smaller features that you see within like your compartmentalized apps like Waze with the advertising, but pulling it in for a personalization effect because it has your loyalty and everything stored right there.
Right. All right, on to our final story now. So there's a company called Cerence. It's spelled Cerence for those listening. And they've introduced a technology called Cerence Link. And this is an Indian-based company. And essentially what they're trying to go after is what they say are 600 million cars on the road today, globally, that don't have any level of connectivity. So these are either older cars or cars, that are being built, for the lower end of the market, typically, that just don't, have connectivity built into them. And so they built essentially a platform called Cerence Link, a connected vehicle digital twin, they call it CVDT. And it uses cloud-based technologies, and it's all focused on, giving you the functionality you get in, sort of, higher end cars today that you buy around, driver safety or security and comfort, things like sensors and awareness of, what's going on in the vehicle and diagnostics and, the car's location, and other useful information around that. It comes, with a mobile app component to it, voice-powered notifications, trip histories and insights, and all kinds of things like that. So I look at this and I go, okay, yes, I can see value to bringing this into, sort of the bottom, end pricing of cars today that come with bare bones stuff that don't have CarPlay and don't have, Google, Google in your car, or those kinds of features and things that we just talked about that you couldn't do if you had one of those cars going into a Panera drive-through. But I also look at it and go, well, how do you get this to market into that audience, right? And I think, to me, that's where I see challenges. They say they've signed a large multinational automaker in India, and they've begun shipping that out. And so, they're rolling this out into, obviously in that market to start, and it's a big market. But I kind of look at this and go, is there an aftermarket, product here, and if so, how do you get that into market? So, and I've been talking about my kids all day. I don't know why, but so my daughter, who's away at university, going into second year, literally, she just bought a used car, and she bought I think it's a 2015 Volkswagen Jetta. And, it's got some functionality in there. It's got Bluetooth. It doesn't have CarPlay or any of those, sort of more sophisticated services available. So it's a little bit, sort of a little bit older. But I look at it and go, she's the kind of audience. She's very tech savvy. She's got a lot of apps on her phone that, she would love to have, sort of that additional functionality, or real-time maps, or, traffic data, all those kinds of things, available to her. So, I could see value there in bringing that to, sort of older cars, or newer cars that, are bare bones. But I'm kind of challenged by, sort of the story here and how you get that to market. So, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree. That was my first thought about this. Like, it's a good application. I love that they found kind of an area that needs addressing that perhaps not everybody is looking at, right? Everybody's looking towards the future cars, but not looking at what's currently on the road and how to improve that. So I think that they found their niche, but I do think that the channel, like the sales channels, are really what's going to determine the success of this. So, from my perspective, I think of like, what is the large car sales, like the used car place, CarMax, like those are, or
Auto
Carvana.
Trader.
Yeah, I think this is a play where you have to go through those channels and see how you can potentially use that massive reach that they have and the massive amount of inventory of pre-owned or older cars in order to get that adoption. So I think you have to generate that, and then if you provide enough value, it's something that people would continue to use, across their cars and across their household and the multiple vehicles that they have. But I do think that's a good call out. And that's, it's one to watch. Like I get their value proposition, but again, getting it into the hands of consumers at mass adoption will be interesting to see how they tackle.
Yeah. So yeah, check it out though if you're in that market. Cerence, Cerence, and their link technology. So that's our show for this week. 4 stories there, a wide range of topics today, and we thank you for listening and watching. This is episode 586 of Location Weekly. As I said at the top of the show, if you don't have your ticket yet for Retail Loco, which is October 26th and 27th in Atlanta, go get it, retaillow.co. We'd love to see you there. And we'll see you next week, everybody, for another show. Have a great week, everybody. Take care. Bye.